Welcome, everybody, to the Three Gun Show. I'm your host, Dave Hartman. This is episode 311. God, I should really learn to check this. You'd think I would have this down by now. Aaron Hayes, welcome to the show. Aaron's our guest today. Aaron, laugh at me for a minute here. Help me cover this one. What episode is this, buddy? 312.
312. Nailed it.
Nailed it.
I was just about to say that.
I appreciate that. Yeah, episode 312. Aaron Hayes is on the podcast today, and Aaron and I are going to continue a conversation that we started several months ago, and I think I caught you on the way to the post office, and we were like, well, let's finish this conversation later, and we never did, so we figured, like, hey, why not do this for the show? And for the people listening, and Aaron, this is news to you too. This is going to be the last show of 2021 here.
Right on.
Yeah. So,
well, I'm honored,
dude. I'm happy to have you back, man. After the wrap up that we did for the fantasy league, the first fantasy league for the Vortex Shootout, I was like, man, I got to finish that conversation with Aaron before the year's over.
Right.
And then our buddy Darren Sepeda. I'm guessing.
Don't ask me.
It's almost a joke right now because he always tells me I pronounce his name right, but he will never ever say his name. Like he'll text it to me. It's like, dude, that doesn't help.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Darren hit me up and he's like, hey man, new year coming up. You got to start beating the drum of those new divisions. And so
New divisions.
Well, at least revised divisions. Revised divisions. So we're here to do a recap of episode 300. And
as long as the red dots go on pistols in every division, I'm good with it.
Well, I guess that's the end of the show. Thanks everybody for coming, and we'll see you next time.
I figured we just go ahead and stir that pot right out of the gate. Everybody, all foaming at the mouth.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh man, so that is a hot button topic right there. The Generation 3 gun rule book actually has a new line that says no dots on pistols in TAC ever. Something like that. Yeah.
That's a very Chad thing to do.
Yeah, certainly is. I think Chad was serious about that one. But hey, Chad's older than both you and I. Maybe he's going to start liking red dots in a minute here.
Right. Once his eyes start to go, he'll revisit that, I bet. Maybe not publicly, but
yeah, he'll switch to open, but TAC, got to keep that one. Well, anyway, so we're here to talk about new divisions I proposed in new division rules that I proposed in episode 300. And Aaron called me after he listened to this one, and we had like a really interesting conversation that was actually longer than the show was. And Aaron brought up he challenged a lot of the things that I had out here, and some of the things that I put into these new division rules Aaron really liked. So I thought we'd take the time to discuss them and kind of have out here. And then, Aaron, I wanted to read you several comments that we got on the post from the original show, and then we can discuss those as well.
Cool.
But first, hey man, congratulations on your finish at Benning.
Thank you.
Yeah,
it was fun. Perfect weather makes that match a lot more fun, like most matches.
Yeah, it's a good time of year to be down south.
It was, yeah. So Joe Easter was there, and I have not beaten him in a minute, so it was nice to get a win over Joe. He's still shooting irons, so it's there's just the fact that he's anywhere near the top of leaderboards at most matches with true iron sights is a testament to his skill.
Yeah.
And it basically came down to the long range stage at the match is what decided the winner. So luckily I was able to get the win.
How long was long range this year?
They had two targets at 400 yards, one of which was basically like just shoulders and head of like a silhouette. And then you shot that from two different spots, from a VTAC and from a tank trap. And then they had a couple of smaller ones at shorter distances. But the stage also had a full-size IPSC that was a 7.5 second bonus target that you shot standing from the start position.
Oh, nice.
So, and I actually hit that on the first shot. So,
well, that's a good bonus then.
Yeah, that rolled me back 7.5 right off the gate. And this was a stage that it was kind of an interesting stage because the par time wasn't long enough for the amount of shooting that there was relative to all the other stages. So a whole lot of people timed out.
And part times were abbreviated all around this year, right?
Well,
was it 110?
No,
I think.
I mean, most of the stages at that match are fast enough that the winning times are all way under 100 seconds. Usually like 40 to 50, I want to say, in my previous years at Benning. But this one, on the first day of shooting, of the 3 squads that shot this stage, because it was a half-day format, I think only one person cleaned the stage in 3 squads.
Wow.
So lots of people were timing out. So for a lot of people, it became a damage control. Like, how many shots do I shoot at these rifle targets before I risk timing out and leaving the 20 shotgun targets unengaged? Yeah. So, I mean, it was tight, man. Like, you had time so you shot the standing one from the start position, then you shot some paper and a plate rack at like 60 yards, and then you had to go both right and left, probably 12 yards right and left, to shoot the series of 4 targets from tank trap and a VTAC kneeling. And then you had to go back through the center door, shoot a bunch of shotgun, and then wind up on a seesaw down underneath a wall on a seesaw. So it was a whole lot of moving, a lot of stuff happening in this one stage, and it was really fun. But that short part time just made it a complete course management stage. So
interesting. Yeah, that definitely sounds like a lot going on.
Do what?
It definitely sounds like a lot going on one stage.
It was, and talking to Nate and those guys, like, they didn't really. I mean, it's hard to know how long every stage is going to take. So they obviously, didn't estimate that one properly. But pretty much every match has a stage like that for the most part. So it's just another way of, presenting a shooting challenge. I mean, it was the same for everybody. So
interesting.
Some people get really wrapped around the axle about weird situations like that. And, I mean, obviously you would prefer not to be that way, but as long as it's the same for everybody shooting the match, like I said, it's just another test. So
yeah, it reminds me of that time you and I shot those 3 stages of Blue Ridge together. Where
I remember those well.
Yeah, it's that whole match was a lot of like timeout management, right? Like, for a lot of people, especially where I was in my abilities at that point.
Yeah, no, that match and the shootout, we kind of went for the same thing. Like, we wanted most people to feel like finishing is an accomplishment, right? Like, we're not trying to beat Joel Turner on every stage. I'm just trying to hit every target. And if you build a match that's hard enough that if people hit every target, they feel like they've accomplished something, that's a sign of a really good match to me. So, and this stage was definitely like that.
Yeah. It's interesting because so I shot that NRL Hunter match. Did I tell you about that, or did you hear that on the show?
I might have heard it, yeah, but I've slept since then, so well, I don't remember anything significant from that episode.
I'll remind you a little bit then. So there was actually several targets that I didn't even find, and I'm told that there were targets at I guess that was their nationals, so they have like regional matches. There was targets at the match in Laramie that nobody found. And so just finding the targets is like an accomplishment, and then being able to engage them before your 4 minutes up is an accomplishment. But I think over the years in 3-gun, we've kind of got babied, I guess, by the bay stages, or maybe just the dumbing down of stages, which I noticed start to happen probably like 2-3 years ago, where everybody has to finish. Everybody gets a trophy, everybody gets a prize, that kind of thing. Where I like the concept that you're talking about with the vortex shootout of like, okay, finishing this stage is going to be, or before the timer goes up, is an accomplishment. And then from there, we'll talk about my time, and then from there, we'll talk about my penalties, and from there, we'll talk about my finish on the match.
Yeah, no, it changed your perspective. I mean, I'll tell you, this stage was the first time that I've had to truly factor the par time in how I shot. I mean, it's been a long time since that was even entered my mind, but it was definitely in my mind on that stage. So, of course, of all of us, I sound like a douche to call myself a top shooter, but of all the people who've been shooting for a while, and know how to manage a match and the stages, like, that was kind of the thing, is no one wanted to be the one to time out. So,
yeah, right.
It raised the stakes. No, it was different, but I wouldn't necessarily say that I would do it differently, because it was a hard stage that you had to shoot well to clean. So the people who did it, got rewarded for it. So we could have an argument over whether that is too much of a risk reward, or too much of a reward for people who can finish it versus punishment for people who can't because of the amount of penalties on the back end. But
yeah, for sure.
That's another conversation for another day. But yeah, the shootout, it was Blue Ridge, Rocky Mountain, like stages where even the guys who may not be winning matches but generally don't time out, are bumping the par times. That's a different. It provides for me at least a different type of kind of satisfaction in shooting 3-gun. It's like, look, I can do all this in this amount of time. Yeah, that's awesome. So
yeah, for sure. Well, that's cool. Well, yeah, again, congratulations on your win. And then last thing I wanted to mention before we get started on the divisions here, and we go rounds disagreeing with each other, like we're on CNN or something like that.
Right on. We're way better than CNN, Dave. Come on, we can never stoop that low.
Oh, dude, and we can swear too, so of course we're way better than CNN.
Right on. All right, I'll be Chris Cuomo.
Oh, nice. Well, I have a prepared list then, turns out. So, yeah, so you asked about my Thanksgiving before we got started here, and wanted to mention that Black Friday was my 10th year anniversary in 3-gun.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you'd think I'd be a lot better than I am by now, but
no judgment here, bro.
Yeah, but anyway, so yeah,
is that the buzzer for the part-time?
Should be, right?
Timer that did that when the part-time expired.
That'd be the timeout, right? And then the sound,
the sound,
obviously,
The Price is Right.
Yeah, or the one where they're like, finished unload show clear, and you turn around, you look at your squad mates, and clearly you left a bunch of targets because it's like,
yep,
crickets. Yeah,
everybody's coughing and sneezing and throwing sunflower seeds at you.
Yep. But anyhow, yeah, 10 years in 3-gun. Pretty excited for that.
That's
and
a long time. That kind of makes you a 3-gun OG.
I don't think it does, because there was people I considered OGs at that time when I started. So I guess maybe I'm the sophomore class or something. I don't know.
There's a lot of people who, well, not a lot, but at least at the top, there's a lot of people that were what I would consider to be OGs, or top tier shooters that are long gone from the game.
Yeah,
I bet you some of them were not in it for 10 years total. So
interesting.
You don't have to be in 3-gun very long to be an OG, I guess. Is the point I'm making.
Well, and so we've seen a lot in that time, right? And that's something that we were talking about during the fantasy leagues too. Is as we were going down the list of names, is like what happened to that one guy, and and we were looking at results from the previous years of Vortex Shooter Source 3-gun and the previous years of Benning. It's like, oh man, yeah, what's this person doing now? That kind of thing. So
actually, 10 years. What year is it?
2021, buddy.
So actually, me and Garrison England met at a local match around this time in 2011.
Yeah, nice.
It was his first, and I think it was my second. So I guess this would be, I'll have to go back and see if I can find those scores, because I used to save them, because I used to think I was doing something special by winning a local match.
Yeah, same.
We were very close to the 10-year anniversary of me shooting also. Interesting.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Who else?
Close enough. We're just going to go with it. Happy anniversary.
There you go. Happy anniversary, Aaron. Congratulations. 10 years. Yeah, so I remember I went and shot 3-gun on a Black Friday, and it was Black Friday 3-gun at Lockheed Martin, the range that was there. And there was, I think we did 3 stages, but we had one bay. So after each stage, we had to tear down and set up a whole new stage. And I thought that's just how shooting was.
Thank God that's not how they all are.
So when we got to some other club matches around the Colorado neighborhood, which I actually was like, oh, these are big matches, because they were in their own bays and they were all set up and stuff like that. I thought that was like a big deal. But yeah, I met my shooting buddy Bill, that I've referred to on the show a bunch of times, on that day on Black Friday, and I actually brought 2 friends with me as guests to shoot the match, and they never shot again. So they're like, oh, I did that. Check. Next thing I want to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, cool.
Pretty interesting.
10 years, a lot of changes. 10 years. We've seen a lot of.
Yeah, and so one of the things that we're going to start with here is the magazine tube on the shotgun, right? So when I started, and you tell me if this is different from you, but it was 8-round capacity in the gun.
Not around here. So I only shot
Interesting.
locals the first year, and then Texas multi-gun, which imploded into a spectacular implosion, I guess. They allowed 12 in the tube, or there was no cap on the tube. Superstition was one of the other majors I traveled to first. They didn't have any tube capacity in TAC ops, so
when was
more
that
of a regional thing?
When was that though? Because when I started, it was 8 rounds, and it was
2012. I shot the Texas multi-gun major and Ozark, I think Superstition in 2012.
So by the time I shot my first major, which was the Noveski multi-gun championship, that was when 12 rounds were now becoming ubiquitous. 12 round tubes. Yeah. So like the brief 5-month period where I had my JM Pro and I was shooting, this is the gun that Jerry shoots. Right. Then 8-round tube came with the gun. I was all set, and then I had to buy a 4-round extension from Nordic at some point. But yeah, that happened like really fast. So anyway, the reason I bring that up, and the reason I bring the 10th anniversary up, is that I've been evaluating like what really has changed in 3-gun, and there's been some technological advancements. I would say like absolutely the quality and the availability of optics is incredible right now compared to when I started shooting. And then I feel like a lot of the stuff that has been invented in the tactical arena or somewhere else has been adopted into 3-gun, but not a lot of stuff is really coming out of 3-gun. And that I think has allowed for feature creep or I guess division creep or whatever you want to call it. So like some things have snuck in and that we'll get in here in a minute. And no one's ever really stopped to think like, well, why are we allowing a 12-round capacity in our shotgun? Because we wrote the rule wrong? Do you remember how this started, Aaron?
I don't.
So what it was is the rule book, and everybody basically copy and paste the same rule book, right? For major matches, and then they tweak the little things that are necessary for their range. And then over a period of years, as you've done with Texas 3-gun, you end up with some differences from where you started, right? So the rule book said at the start of the buzzer, no more than 9 rounds in the tube, right? And so that some clever person decided, well, I only have 9 rounds in my tube. It doesn't say 9-round capacity. And so that was the little slip around. And we never really.
That was supposed to be an equipment restriction that just was worded poorly.
Yeah, that's my understanding. And again, I had a very small pool at that time of knowledge. So if you've been around longer than me and you remember something different, please leave a comment.
No, I just remember scrambling the first year I shot Blue Ridge.
Yeah,
because I had to plug my tube to 8 in TAC ops. So I'm pretty sure we went to the Walmart in Cave City, Kentucky late at night and got some wooden dowels to make plugs out of.
Well, yeah, it was, I think you were one of the people that told me about that too. And then Mark Roth helped me cut some shotgun shells to put in backwards at the end of my tube. Yep. Yeah. Or empty shotgun shells. Yeah.
Interesting. So a poorly worded.
Yeah. So like, stop and think about it. Like, why in the hell do we have 12 round tubes, 14 round tubes? Like, it's not tactical. It's not practical. Like what? That doesn't make any sense. Right. So anyway, back to the division rules. Stopping and looking at all these things and like really evaluating, like, why are we doing this? And in my opinion, the limited has gotten too close to TAC. TAC has gotten too close to open. So I'd like to spread those out. So now they're an appreciable difference. Months ago, I was thinking like there's probably room for a production division in here somewhere. But once I sat down with like a pen and paper, started thinking about it, I basically just wrote limited division again. Right. So if you remember from episode 300, I was talking about a production division. Scrap that. We're just gonna make limited again.
Stick with what we have.
Yeah. So let's run these down. So I start with shotgun, and this is some feedback I got from people once I did that first episode. Anyway, was like, well, why are we even having this shotgun? Like, it's not used in anything except for breaching anymore, or less than lethal rounds. And I really don't have an argument for that other than this is called 3-gun. So like, I understand that part of it, but I like the shotgun.
I mean, NASCAR drivers don't bootleg anymore, but they still drive fast. So,
dude, Nailed it right
You know,
there. Nailed
just
it.
because people want to race things, that's why at this point.
All right. So anyway, starting with the shotgun. So configuration, this one I think is pretty easy, Aaron, is limited tube fed shotgun 12 gauge, tac ops tube fed shotgun 12 gauge, open, unlimited.
Yep. I agree with that.
Capacity, 8-round tube based on 2 3/4 inch shells, 9 total for limited division. Tac ops division limited at a 12-round tube for 2 3/4 inch shells, 13 total. And then open, unlimited capacity.
Yeah, no, I'm totally down with that. In fact, that's a rule change we implemented at Texas 3 Gun, I want to say 3 years ago.
So let me ask you, so that you did that for limited, do you have the 12-round capacity for tac, or can they just bring whatever?
So this is actually a 12-round capacity.
Correct, yeah.
No, we don't limit capacity in tac ops.
Yeah, so that's
but the
specific.
joke's on them. If you try to run a tube longer than 12, your gun's not going to run. So
yeah, well, I've seen 14, like Nick Miller and Jay Christensen both run 14s. I know that.
It can be done. It requires a lot of trial and error with your tube length and spring length, and you have to keep your gun really clean.
Yeah. Okay.
It's just right at the verge of failure with most designs, gun designs with the 12-round tube, just because of the, you know what shell surge is.
That's when the shells shake back and forth from the recoil. Is that right?
Well, so when you pull the trigger, right, and the gun goes back.
Yeah.
Right. That initial backwards recoil, that momentarily compresses. Basically, the shells are not tied to the gun. So when the gun goes back, initially the shells, it takes them a few microseconds to catch up. So what winds up happening is that the shells actually go further up into the mag tube and compress the mag spring. So what you then have is a gun going backwards and a spring trying to push these shells out. Right. It's right at the verge of reliability, even just hand cycling it. But then you have the gun also moving backwards as the spring is trying to push the shells backwards. And it just can mess with the timing, can possibly not have enough spring pressure to kick the shells out as the gun's going backwards. It just narrows the timing window.
It's like jumping on an elevator.
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah, all right, so...
But yeah, I'm down with that. 8 rounds unlimited. I don't know that I wouldn't limit the tac ops.
So let me tell you the reason behind that. So, pardon me. If you're to grab a box magazine, what is the standard capacity?
I would say probably in the area of 20, 18, 20.
You're cutting out a little bit there when you're speaking. Can you say that again for me, please?
I would say probably 18 to 20, right? Is like a standard box fed mag.
That's
nice.
That's kind of funny. Two tube gun shooters talking about box shotguns. Let me look real quick. Let's pretend this didn't happen.
Yeah, I know that we sell 19 rounders for the VR80. So
yeah,
and I think the Vepr shooters can have like 20s or 22s. So I'm gonna say in the neighborhood of 20 rounds.
Let's see. Okay, so that's a coupler. My bad. Magazine. Dang it. There we go. Vepr 12 magazines. Okay, so there's 10 round, 12 round, 15 round, and 20 round, right?
Yeah.
And from my understanding and talking with Scott Green on several episodes, like you basically have 120 round and you load into like a 15. So
right.
That was the reason I didn't want to do a 14 round tube plus one in the chamber is 15, because now you're at the same as a box magazine shotgun.
Yeah.
However, we'll get to this one in a second here, but I'm saying load it full. Load 12 rounds in that tube.
Oh, so you're saying start with 12.
Yeah, load one in your chamber, and let's go for it. Because why in the ever-loving F would a good freedom-loving American that eats brisket and drinks Shiner beer be having a shotgun tube that's downloaded?
I think that...
Now remember, the goal here for me is to separate the divisions, right? So if you start with 8, you're starting with the same as limited.
So I think here's why I would say that I am okay with having a 20 round tube if you want, but starting with 9 is in building a match. It's all about passing lanes, right? When you're trying to win a match, like if you build a match where there's no places for people to take risks and be rewarded for having higher skill level, it kind of compresses the results, right? Like there needs to be spots where somebody who can shoot a lot of good long range can beat the other guys. There needs to be a spot where a really good pistol shooter can gain a bunch of points because they crush it with a pistol. I feel like having the bigger tube and the smaller starting capacity lets the guys who excel at quad loading put that to use to kind of get some advantage in certain spots. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I agree.
That's a passing lane for guys who really can quad load. Right, say you've got a 14-round tube on your gun, and you can load it full when most other people in the match can't. Right, so then at the end of a stage, you get to not do a standing reload when they do. I mean, things like that.
So I agree. And what is the biggest complaint that you hear from people that won't shoot 3-gun anymore or won't shoot 3-gun? Also, do you want me to just say it?
I never see them.
The shotgun is a loading match.
Yeah, that's what they say on Facebook, but those people aren't real. Those are bots. I've never met one person who said that to me, Dave.
I had a guest on the show, Colin Fossen, says he doesn't shoot 3-gun anymore because the shotgun is a loading match. Now, he quit before.
Let's search. What's his last name?
He quit before quad loading. No, he shoots NRL Hunter now.
There you go. I was going to look him up in practice score and see how many matches he's actually shot. Because every time I see somebody open their big mouth on Facebook about how shotgun ruins 2-gun, I go search their name in practice score, and guess what? Not a goddamn score under their name. So,
well, you'll find him. You'll just find him under the what's it called? NRL Hunter, and then he does the Safari Challenge, which Competition Dynamics still refuses to enter the 21st century, and so it's probably kept on a cardboard piece of paper somewhere.
That's fine. I mean, everybody's entitled to their opinion, but I mean, my experience, anybody who's ever said that to me, that was not the reason they weren't shooting. That was an excuse, because I travel with. I don't have a shotgun, or I don't have all the gear. Well, I travel with enough stuff to loan 4 or 5 people guns and gear at every match, and no one who's ever said that. Oh, I don't have a shotgun, or I don't know how to load it. Well, I'll come over and I'll teach you. Like, let's shoot. No, they don't want to shoot. That's just an excuse.
So then, how do you explain
people on Facebook saying that crap? I'm searching your names.
That's a fact. He does do that. So on that note, then how do you explain the rise of like 2-gun things like TAC games and Max's PSL, the Pumpkin Spice Latte League?
Yeah, I don't know much about the PSL. I know the TAC games. It doesn't matter what guns you use; people are going to come do that because they like the physical aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
You could make them do almost anything with almost any configuration of guns, I think, and they would do it. Because what differentiates that from competition shooting, action shooting, is the physicality.
Sure.
They've gone to the pistol and rifle mainly because that's duty gear,
mm-hmm.
and a lot of their participants are military and law enforcement. So it kind of, I don't think they were necessarily trying to avoid the shotgun as much as they were just trying to mimic the weapon systems that are used in the real world by a lot of the people that do their stuff.
Let me attack this a different way. What if?
Because I've actually sold shotguns to several TAC games people who want to get started in 3-gun.
Oh, that's good. Well, that's good to hear.
Yep, at the TAC games event we had at TSA, we had one of the stages left over from the tune-up. It was the minivan 3-gun stage.
Uh-huh.
And they all shot that as a stage and loved it and just raved about how much fun it was to be able to move and shoot and all this stuff. So a lot of those guys are coming from a very tactical world, and obviously a lot of them do CrossFit and stuff. So when they see like what true action shooting can be, it blows their doors off because
I know
they've never been able to do that with guns before, but they're getting excited about it. So we've actually gotten, obviously 3-gunners are going to TAC games and doing well, but there's several TAC games people that are transitioning into 3-gun, which I think is cool.
That's fantastic. That's great to hear. Yeah, because all the shooting is all the fun. I mean, I love it all. It's great.
Exactly. So as far as the PSL, I mean, I know there's there's like run and gun groups, and
yeah, that's a whole nother anomaly. So run and gun group I look as a subculture of prepping versus a subculture of competitive shooting. Yeah. Because I've done a lot of it, and we tried to have a competition shooting style run and gun in Colorado, and we had a bunch of people there, and they had a great time, but the targets were too far away. There was too many targets. You had to move when you were shooting. There was a lot of weird complaints from people that specialize in that area.
The 2-gun crowd that I've always been around is such a different crowd, right? Like I just shot the Kalash Bash, and the
Well, that's okay.
no,
So
it's a
that's
single gun match, but
that's
a lot
a
of those guys
subset of
shoot two-gun.
LARPing.
Like that's the 2-gun crowd,
Ah,
and none of those guys are ever going to come shoot 3-gun.
cool. All right, change the subject
Same.
then.
So
12.
anyway.
What if I gave you a 9-round start on your pistol and your rifle? What then? Well, what would you say if I said that? Like, oh, this match we start with our pistol 9-round. What is your response to that?
Like, what are you trying to accomplish?
What are we trying to accomplish in here we go. I'm trying to give you a passing lane.
Yeah, that's what I would say is the reason to start with a half-empty shotgun.
Yes, I don't agree.
I'm not saying it's right, but it makes logical sense to me. It's not wrong enough that it needs to be changed, in my opinion.
So I think it's wrong enough that it does need to be changed because there's a hole in your shotgun, and like we want to shoot, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a hole in your shotgun. There's a 4-round hole in your shotgun. We need to fill that.
Yeah. And as soon as the buzzer goes off, you can if you're good enough.
All right, let's move on to optics.
We agree to disagree on that one.
No, I disagree to disagree. I'm still mad about it, and I'm going to hold it against you.
All right, we'll have a loading contest next time I see you to decide it.
Done and done. Write it down, everybody. All right, so optical electronic sight. So I have no on the limited shotgun, and I have no on the tac shotgun, and I have unlimited on open. Now, this is something that you brought up in our initial conversation. What are your thoughts on red dot on tac?
I don't. So one of the things I struggle with the divisions is the relevance of tube-fed guns in open division. Right, and we may as well say it, right? Jerry Mitchlick, like he is the gun he uses has been passed by in terms of technology by the box-fed guns that now run. I remember when I first started shooting, the box-fed guns were very rare. We actually shot an all-shotgun match up in Oklahoma, and Jerry was in open, and there was like 3 or 4 guys shooting box-fed guns, and he told me. That was the first time I'd ever seen those guns in competition, and I said, are you worried about these? Like, what? Tell me about these guns. And he said, well, if one of them can get their gun to work for the whole match, they'll beat me. And That's what happened. One guy's gun ran the whole match and beat him. So I'm not saying we need to make changes to keep, older designs relevant, but at the same time, there's a lot of tube-fed technology in the rest of the world is much different than it is here because IPSC has a division called modified.
Mm-hmm.
Which restricts you to a tube-fed gun that has to fit in a box, and that's it. So you can port it, you can put a dot on it, you can start full, you can quad or speed load. So if we were going to entertain the idea of a red dot in tac on a shotgun, it would look a lot like modified IPSC division to me.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't think that'd be the end of the world.
Well, so spoiler alert here. We're gonna get to red dot sights on pistols. So if now now knowing that I'm advocating for a red dot sight on pistol and tac ops, does that change your mind? Do you think now there should be or should not be one on the shotgun?
Let's wait for my. So we may as well unpack this, right? So. Everybody talks about the name tac ops, right? But regardless of what you call it, the nature of tac ops has always been the most practical and maybe commonly owned weapon systems, right? For the general public, like everybody has an AR, everybody has a Glock 17, everybody has a shotgun. Well, the guns that everybody has that are kind of the basis for if you were to say, okay, let's build a division from scratch based on the guns everybody has. We may not be there now, but in another 5 years, everybody's going to have a red dot pistol, and everybody's going to have some kind of tactical shotgun. If they have shotguns, a tactical shotgun with a rail and a red dot. I mean, the Benelli M4s, everybody's buying those and putting dots on them
right.
for home defense. So, my personal feelings, I don't necessarily. I don't even know that I'm really considering that because I'm kind of indifferent to the whole thing as long as the divisions have enough separation. But I think if it's commonly accepted that one of our divisions encompasses the most standard configuration of these weapon systems that most people already own, then I think TAC Ops does eventually need to be changed because, and I'm not saying now, but at some point in the future, that time is definitely coming. Because when everybody has a red dot pistol, then you could say the same thing about TAC Ops you say about other divisions. It limits people who can shoot it. They have to go out and buy special guns.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of my thoughts on when it needs to happen.
The future is now, old man.
Yeah. So I'm told.
You said that to me at the Wyoming governor's match. I can't remember why, but you totally nailed me with that one.
Yeah. No, it's you see all this stuff on Facebook and people get really heated about it. I would listen to an argument for both sides, and I think there's a good argument to be made on both sides. But anybody who tries to tell you that's not the future of commonly owned practical shooting weapon systems doesn't know what they're talking about, because that's definitely the future of that. The question is whether we modify 3-gun to mimic that or not.
So, yes, we do modify 3-gun. 3-gun needs.
I'm not saying we should do it next year, but in the next 5 years, I think it needs to be done.
I mean, 2023 is fine with me. It doesn't need to be next year, but we need something because, again, right now, I think the divisions are broken for 2 reasons. 1, apathy. 3 reasons. 2, inertia, and then 3, we don't have a governing body to force us into this. Now,
let me run this by you.
Hang on, let me finish real quick. Okay. Say what you want about NASCAR, right? But there's changes all the time to the rules, and there's changes all the time for F1, and the teams or the drivers have to go with those to keep with the times. And you can argue that like 1970s NASCAR may have been cooler than current NASCAR for sure, but there were changes in that time, and they did keep up with technology.
Yeah. Yeah, so here's no, I agree 100% with all that. I think there is a difference in terms of the financial support and people who participate and watch. Right?
100%.
Like each NASCAR has literally an entire racing series for its own divisions that fill stadiums, So
100%.
If you don't like the rules in this division, you just go find another ride somewhere else driving the kind of car you want. Whereas 3-gun, that's not really an option. We're trying to umbrella everything into one match, you know. So there's that factor, but I think the biggest issue, right? So let's say we issued an executive order today that
I have.
Are now on pistols.
No, I'm just kidding.
Basically, anybody who doesn't have the financial means to go out and revamp their setup in time for Superstition, or whatever the first big match of the year is, they're all going to get crushed. Until they catch up, they're at a huge competitive disadvantage.
Right. So that's why we're giving them.
This is possible, but a discussion needs to be had about how do we transition softly. That way, people who can't afford. I mean, say you just switched from open to TAC Ops this year, and you just built your whole TAC Ops setup, and now it changes.
First off, nobody switches from open to TAC Ops, and then
not anymore.
Yeah. And then second, we give them until 2023. That's how we do the slow roll. Come on, man. Follow me on this one. Not buying that one, huh?
I'm old. I don't like change.
Well, I don't either, man. I don't either. Got 2 old guys talking about change. One guy tried to print something out before we started here. We're not going to say who that was. But
no, at some point, we're just going to have to rip the Band-Aid off and do it. And
yeah,
there'll be people to fight about it, and that's fine.
Yeah, and honestly, like this is easy to say because I don't have I don't have the ability to make these changes, right? So understand that Aaron does have the ability to make these changes here, and I'm not advocating that he does it for Texas 3-gun or whatever other matches you're affiliated with. It's just, again, you've been around for a decade. You have interesting thoughts on these things, and which is why I had you on the show. So I'm not here to hang you for your own match. And
I totally get it.
If the rules
You're
don't,
not going to hurt my feelings, Dave, by telling me my rules are wrong.
Sure, I appreciate that, but I also don't want to sound
hard to hurt my feelings. So
I appreciate that, but I also don't want to sound like an asshole to the people listening. So I feel like I got to explain myself.
12 episodes too late for that one, buddy.
Oh, ouch! Aaron's got jokes, everybody. But
so
yeah,
we've actually You're right. I've owned and run the Magpul Texas 3-gun Championship and am involved in a couple other matches, and we have had these discussions, for the last couple years, for sure.
Well,
about this internally. So
I'm just I didn't want to say it, but I'm going to say it.
Say it.
Participation's low, dude. We got to do something to bring the people back.
In matches, you mean? Participation is low?
Yes. And maybe not Texas 3-gun specifically, but 3-gun as a whole, yes. So we got to do something to bring people back. And I think this is part of it.
What do you think drove them away?
Ammo prices, cost of stuff, and you're about to say now they got to buy a red dot. Damn it, you're right.
2 red dots.
Son of a. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Or
and then 2 backups. So
2 backups. Well, so here's the other thing. Limited division. I'm now making it more accessible to beginners, right? Mm-hmm. Granted, we're only 4 of my 12 points here into this thing, but once you get the holistic picture, limited is actually less expensive than it currently is to get into.
Yeah. So that was kind of our philosophy when we started talking about, because we had this exact conversation internally, is TAC Ops and limited are the same except for the rifle optic, and that wasn't enough of a difference to me. But the changes we decided to make removed the requirements for new gear, not added new gear you had to go out and buy. Does that make sense?
100%. Yeah. So
because I didn't want to change it and make everybody have to go out and spend money. Like, it's one thing to take your base pads off your mags and uncouple mags and stuff like that. It's another to have to go buy new stuff to stay relevant. And so that's why that division was the one we changed first, is because obviously it's the easiest one to restrict because it's already limited.
So of all 12 points that I have for TAC, there's only 2 things that would be something you have to buy. So one, we already spoiled it, red dot on pistol. And then if we decide that red dots are acceptable on a shotgun, then that as well.
I think you can't do one without the other.
Then red dots for everybody, baby. Because you got to do it on pistol.
Yeah.
Can't not do it. So
yeah, I mean, we're getting there. Like I said, I don't think we're there yet, but it's just a matter of time.
So my mind's been changed on the red dot thing. I was firmly against it on the shotgun until you brought up the red dot on the M4, and then I was kind of indifferent. And then I had a conversation with Jay Christensen, and he was advocating for red dots, and then had some really good points. And I was still indifferent after that because he ended the conversation with but I still wouldn't run one. And then now the talk you just gave about Jerry, that really does make a lot of sense, because you're see, I was thinking a red dot on the tube fed shotgun would make it too close to open. But if you're saying okay, well, the technology's already made the tube fed shotgun obsolete in open, I would strongly agree. Like, the boys at Distant Arms just completely disrupted that division, and hats off to you guys. And then that said, there could be a place for red dots on shotguns in TAC, and that does make sense. So you convinced me, and now you don't want to do it, which is hilarious.
No, I want to do it. It's just a matter of when. I'm not, and I would like to say that this is not a dictation of rule changes for Texas 3-gun.
No.
Nobody misinterpret that.
No, it's totally hypothetical, right?
These are changes that I think anybody with the sense to look 5 years into the future of 3-gun can see and know that it's just a matter of time.
Right. Okay.
And I think that's right. What's the number one reason that people should move from TAC Ops into open?
Eyesight and red dots.
Guys that win the matches. I'm talking about the majority of shooters. Why would someone move from TAC to open?
Eyesight and red dots.
Exactly. Eyesight. Yeah. So, what it will do is it'll let a lot more guys who, have deteriorating vision as they get older stay in TAC Ops, which is where they want to be, because that's where they're there in the first place, right? And a lot of the cops and military guys, I don't know about the military so much, but a lot of police officers, as they get older, they still want to train with their duty gear. So you force them into open where they get crushed, or you let them shoot. You add red dots in TAC and you let them shoot their duty gear just like they do. And I'm not convinced that a red dot. Okay, so here's the. I'm not 100% convinced that a red dot is a huge advantage.
Yeah.
And the evidence I'll put forward for this is the episode or the TV show called The Big Gun, where Tim Yackley beat everybody with TAC Ops gear.
Yeah. So honestly, that's what Jay said as well. And then he was, his thing was like, yeah, imagine shooting clays. Like, do you think a dot's going to hold speed you up or slow you down? And the only experience I really have with that is messing around with Scott Green's Limcat Vepper.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like putting that red dot in the very center of the clay and pulling the trigger on each time rather than just getting it near. It's like, oh, that makes sense. So I'm with you on that. The only thing that I think it would be a serious advantage on is slugs.
Oh, for sure. For sure. But not all guns hit the same spot with slugs and birdshot either, Dave. I've seen guys that have to aim 2 feet right at a clay at 5 yards because their slug zero isn't.
100%. And so that was bring up Jay here. That was the point that he was making, is like, if you zero for your slugs, your birdshot's going to be off anyway. So you're almost not even using that dot until it does come to slugs. Like, yeah, can't argue with that.
Yeah. I think that at the top that Tim Yackley went in that show on very short notice, right? Not long enough notice to get a setup done. It proves that the best are still going to win, right?
Yeah.
He could argue that he put as much time and effort into shooting as anybody at that point, and he's the one who won.
Yeah.
And that's how it should be. And I don't think, obviously he's young, and a lot of the guys in that show, Jerry was there, obviously have eyesight issues. There's no way
still Wyatt Gibson was in that.
Shoot irons the same speed as Tim Yackley just because of eyesight, right?
Yeah.
But the fact that he can do irons as fast as they can do dots, or better, because he won the show on a show that was, the stages were literally built for box fed shotguns, and he won the show.
Well, Wyatt Gibson was in that too, and I believe he's even younger than Tim. And he was shooting open.
A box fed gun, and he's a good shooter.
He's a good shooter, yeah, for sure.
Like a lot of people haven't heard of Wyatt because he sticks mainly to the West Coast, but he can throw it down with anybody.
Yep.
So, Tim winning that show was not a fluke. And granted that was a few years ago, but I don't feel like it's any less relevant.
All right, man. Moving on. Comps and porting. No in limited. I have no in TAC, and unlimited in open. Now,
no changes needed.
No changes, basically. However, I am open to changes if we somehow get all the matches under a USPSA type thing, and that way people can build those shotguns you were talking about for what's the division we were just talking about? Modified division, yeah. So then you could use your modified division TAC.
On rifles?
I'm sorry?
Why do we allow comps on rifles but not pistols or shotguns?
To absorb recoil. Inertia.
But why is it allowed?
Inertia.
Why is that not open only?
Inertia. That's what we've always done.
I would say that it's because it's hard to buy a rifle without a flash hider or a comp on it.
Oh, well.
Right. That goes back to this commonly accepted general setup that we were talking about earlier. I feel like a comp on a rifle fits that description, whereas pistol and shotgun do not.
Yeah, I would agree. I do have a shotgun barrel with porting on it from the factory. I don't remember which barrel that is. It might be my field barrel for my Mossberg, which wouldn't make any damn sense at all, but I think that shotgun is ported.
Well, a lot of bird hunters and clay shooters that shoot the really hot shells shoot ported barrels.
Oh, that's probably what it's for then.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, yeah. So
I don't think there's any call for change at this time for that.
So I don't think so either, unless we want to create space for people to create modified division guns, and if we as a community decide that's something desirable. All right, moving on. Port shell loader. I just put yes for limited, yes for TAC, one shell, and then unlimited in open if you are silly enough to do something like that.
Yep.
Loading devices. Now, limited I have none. TAC ups I have none. Obviously, unlimited and open.
Yep.
Now, we might pass that one by as a consensus, but again, if we're modified, then don't you have to add sticks in there somewhere? Are they 4-round sticks or something?
No, the IPSC. So in IPSC, it's interesting. Open division is limited to 10 rounds in their mags. But modified does not have a capacity division restriction.
Okay.
So actually, the modified guys wind up loading less than the open guys.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Good to know.
It definitely changes the game for open. It makes your reloads much more important because, if you could just stick a 22-round mag in there, obviously 3/4 of the stages at a world shoot you would never have to reload, but limiting you to 10 means you have to reload on half of them.
Interesting. Okay.
So, I don't know. There are guys who shoot open without speed loaders. I mean, Ryan Muller shoots open and quad loads and does all right. I bet Jacob Betzworth a few years ago. He, shooting for Benelli, he quad loaded in open and a few matches. So you can either spend time getting good at speed loaders like Jerry is, or you can spend time getting good at quad loading. And I think it's kind of a toss up, and it depends on the match. Also, natural terrain matches where you got movement.
Yeah, it's easy to hide them in movement. Not as much of a
factor.
Yep. All right, so that finishes off the shotgun. Shit, that only took like 35 minutes for us to do that. But do you have anything else that you would propose a change, or
I don't think so.
For limited tack and open? No? Okay.
I don't think so. I would not be opposed to maybe ported barrels in tack. I don't think that would kill the division, but and it's not so much of an advantage as there's other people who have guns that are ported.
Yeah.
Shoot the division with those guns and not have to buy a new one. I don't think that makes enough of a difference with the shotgun. With the light recoil target loads we're shooting.
Yeah.
I don't think the ports are going to determine a match.
Like if they allowed porting tomorrow, I would not change my shotgun. So.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, man. Moving on to rifle. So basically, basic configuration: semi-automatic minimum 223.556, semi-automatic minimum 223.556, semi-automatic minimum 223.556 for limited tack and open.
Yep, I got no problem with that.
Capacity. Now, here's a fun one. So, limited, I have double stack box mag 30 round max. Tack, I have double stack box mag 45 round max, and unlimited is open is unlimited.
Mm-hmm. So our limited rules actually allow 32 in limited,
and that was dumb.
Well, it's because Daniel Defense makes a 32 round mag.
Just take 2 rounds out.
I don't want to have to check that.
If you're the dumb one that bought Daniel Defense magazines, then
some people tell me Daniel Defense has 3-gun shooters, so I'm not trying to discriminate here, Dave.
Did you really? I don't know.
Yeah, they do. I just saw him at Fort Benning, actually.
But what kind of magazines was he using?
That I do not know. Probably a drum. But no, 32 round is the biggest factory mag that I know of, so that's what we went with. If you think those 1 or 2 extra rounds are enough to go buy new mags, more power to you. But basically, it has to be a factory-sized mag, 30-round size mag with no base plate. So 30, 31, 32.
So typically, most matches don't have a capacity limit for limited. I think one is desirable.
Yeah, hell yeah! It totally changes the dynamic of shooting. And me and Joe Easter had that conversation the first year that Texas 3-Gun did that. It totally changes. Shooting prone off of a 45-round mag with a base pad in some situations is way better than shooting off a factory 30-round mag. We had a stage at the shootout where you were shooting prone at a slight downward angle up at targets above your horizon on the hillside. So
yeah,
the
that's
guys
tough.
Limited had a much harder time with that stage because they were shooting off of factory 30-round mags, and I can't throw my 40 rounder with a big TTI base pad on it and use it as like a pivot point to shoot off of. So I feel like that's a good separator. As far as tack, I don't know.
It's a tough one.
I mean, well, in the interest of full disclosure, the match I run is called the Magpul Texas 3-Gun Championship. Magpul makes drums.
And so, honestly, I think that's why we allow magazines in there, D60s in tack, is one, we don't have a sanctioning body that can bequeath that rule, and match directors want Magpul to sponsor their match, want Magpul to contribute to their match, want to make it a Magpul friendly match, so they feel compelled to put D60s in there. Now, my question to you, when we had this conversation initially, was, have you ever asked if that was outlawed from TAC, if it would be that big of a deal? Because that's not the only thing that Magpul makes. They make sunglasses, for God's sake, so
they do.
I literally have a Magpul wallet in my pocket right now. So
so do I.
Nice.
Um, that's a good. The answer is no. I haven't ever asked them, and I don't intend to, just because part of three gun, right? We talked. I mentioned earlier about the difference between three gun and like racing, right? Is the amount of participation and money involved. Magpul is so involved in the shooting sports that I'm not going to go out of my way to restrict products they make and use to support the sport from the biggest division. And kind of the way it all went down when they released those, I don't think Magpul was a sponsor of the match, the title sponsor of my match, when the D60s first came out, but shortly thereafter they were. And the question was, are these allowed? And we went and read the rules, and basically it didn't say that you couldn't use them.
Exactly.
And we use that to to promote the D60s with our match. So, does that make me a sellout? I don't know.
So, one, yes, it does, but two, I understand.
So the match is sold out too. I'm gonna throw that out.
Hey-oh! Just like Metallica, yeah, we sell out every arena, every time.
Who complains about sellouts has never had the opportunity to sell out.
That's a friggin' fact, my friend. So, but okay, so I'm a self-professed Magpul fanboy. There is so much PMag sitting near me right now, and again, I have a Magpul wallet in my pocket. I like the D60. I have way too many of them, and they just like I keep finding them like I buried Easter eggs or something like that. But
that's a good problem to have.
It really is. It really is. Hit me up if you need one. No, I'm just kidding. But I like the D60. It's an awesome piece of technology, and they friggin' nailed it, and they friggin' nailed the cost, and like it's just classic Magpul. Like you did an awesome job on that. But that said, for this game, to separate the limited, or excuse me, the tack gun from the open gun, I think there does need to be some sort of restriction. I think between limited and tack, we're going from 30 to 45 rounds. That's a significant difference. And then another 15 rounds gets you into the D60 for open.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my response to that is I would definitely listen to that argument. I mean, it's not that's a sound argument, but I will tell you that I have no plans to spearhead that effort, right? So if like that starts to become a trend where matches are banning drums and tack ops, we would consider it a lot more seriously, but I don't really have any intention of leading that change just because of the reasons I stated. I mean, it's the Magpul Texas match, and they make D60s, so it's. I don't mean that in a way that like they're holding me back, but I feel like just out of respect to them.
No problem. So
it's if they didn't sponsor the match probably wouldn't exist. So that's just kind of a.
I totally hear you. So two things. I'm gonna reach out to Dwayne and ask him that question personally, offline, so he doesn't have any sort of. I don't want to put him on the spot, right?
Yeah.
And then second, I'm gonna need you to work on your language. Don't look at it as banning the D60. Look at it as celebrating the D60 in open division.
Yeah. I feel like this is like one of those, when the ATF wants to reclassify things for no reason. We should at least have a comment period, a public comment period.
Well, okay, the public comment period is passed. No, I'm just kidding. The public comment period actually is on this show, so that's right. That's why I said the number of the show at the top is. I want to hear people's feedback. We got a lot of great comments from the first one, so 3gunshow.com/312. Put your comment in the notes down there and let me know what you think. Like it's a tough one for sure. I'll be honest. It's I mean.
Well, and the goal of all these changes, it theoretically is to increase participation, right?
Well,
so theoretically, we should be doing whatever.
I guess number one
shooters want to do. So.
Number one is okay. So everything would be open if we just did that, right? So number one is to increase participation. Number two is to differentiate the divisions, and then number three is bringing technology up to current specs, right? Gotcha. So I understand that number 2 and 3 are competing on this particular device, right? Because it is current technology, but it also needs to differentiate the divisions. That's what I see as like the goals here. Yeah, I don't think I definitely don't think we're gonna solve that here. And I'm not asking you to change your rules or anything. It's just an interesting thought experiment of
Yeah.
like we didn't have a rule
Well, I think
against it.
conceptually, it makes sense.
Sure, we didn't have a rule against it, but now we do. So let me throw this one at you. So we've been using the NASCAR bootlegger thing all along, right? Ford, Dodge, and Chevy are currently in NASCAR. Is that correct?
I think Toyota is too.
And even better.
I'm not a NASCAR guy, so
even better. And Toyota. So, how many of those cars are running a Ford, a Dodge, a Chevy, or a Toyota engine?
I don't think it's anything but the logos on the plastic.
Goose egg. Yeah, I mean they don't even have the chassis. They don't have the wheels. They don't have the brakes. They don't have any of that shit. So,
but I will say, okay, to counter that, or not really counter, but to clarify that. They all use the same tires. Why? Because NASCAR has a tire sponsor. They all use the same air filter. Why? Because NASCAR has an air filter sponsor, right? Like the equipment they use is directly dictated by the people who financially support the sport. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's
as long as it's done responsibly and does not, cause huge negative repercussions elsewhere in the event.
So that's a really good point. So how do you think they make that differentiation between the ones, or did just Ford not have any balls and just didn't didn't stand up for their engines being nixed by whatever racing technology?
I don't honestly know, but I know that the whole idea of racing series is to use driver skill to differentiate and not equipment. So that's why they're so restrictive on equipment. So basically everybody's driving the same exact car regardless of the logos on the plastic.
And that's why they drove frickin' Tauruses for years.
Right, exactly. So, and NASCAR is certainly not the most modern technologically of racing, but it's certainly modern in terms of they're getting the maximum amount that they can out of the technology they're using, which is carburetors and, restrictor plates and all that kind of stuff. So, I don't know. I have a feeling when the series is getting put together, and Cooper Tires or whoever the sponsor is came up and said, "Hey, we want everyone to use Cooper Tires, and here's a check for it." I doubt anyone complained.
Sure. But they also have teams, right? So how do they decide what component NASCAR uses versus what component a team can select themselves? That's what I was trying to figure out.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure they all use the same carburetor. I don't know whether that's because that carburetor company sponsors it or because it's just the best, right? It's probably both. Combination of both, I'm sure.
So using that example once again, just playing devil's advocate here, you could, as a match, say only Magpul PMags or D60s are allowed in our match.
Mm-hmm.
Because that is your match, your sanctioning body.
Right.
They're playing that game. You could eliminate, like, don't bring any Lancers, don't bring any GI mags, don't bring any Tapco mags, you know, all that stuff.
The problem is Century Mag also sponsors the match.
Oh, well, I mean, yeah, those are your two options. Of course.
Well, so I think the difference is in NASCAR, right? Like if I was writing a $50,000 check to the winner of Texas 3-Gun, I could say almost anything I wanted to, and they would do it.
That's a good point.
I think that's the lucrative ends of NASCAR makes everyone a lot less picky about what's dictated to them in terms of equipment rules than people who are just doing this for fun,
Got it. So maybe like dirt bike racing is probably closer to that, right? Because there's not nearly as many teams. They're more privateers, like a 3-Gun.
Much more of a hobby sport, for sure.
Okay. All right.
That's funny.
Well,
Dwayne has actually gotten into dirt bike racing big time this year. So.
I saw that. Yeah. I was like, oh, you poor bastard. Now you get another hobby.
He's good and serious. So.
Oh, jeez. All right. So moving on. Coupled mags. No in limited. Yes in TAC. And yes in open.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Primary sights. Limited, I have one non-magnified. Open, one magnified's okay, variable's okay. So if you're dumb enough to shoot an ACOG, you can do that. Mm-hmm. And then unlimited in open.
Yeah, the only thing that might need to be clarified or at least discussed there is whether you can use a magnifier, like a flip side magnifier in limited. It
says non-magnified.
Yeah. Well, so most rules specify that a separate magnifier with no aiming reticle inside is legal.
What?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
That's bullshit.
I know in the TAC games you can do that.
Well,
I haven't actually gone through the all the rule sets to verify that because I don't use one. So I could be wrong there, but I'm pretty sure. I know when I started, I used a Neotech with a 3x magnifier behind it.
were you in TAC or were you in limited?
Oh, that was in TAC, but
Yeah.
I don't even know if limited existed then. To be honest, I don't remember.
So I guess I need to add like magnifier okay in TAC and then magnifier not okay in
Yeah, so
limited.
no magnifier, only one sighting piece, and it can only be 1x.
All right.
Okay, so what about magnified glasses?
Magnified glasses. Oh, I think you should just do what the good Lord gave you.
So no glasses?
No glasses, no contacts, no ear pro, nothing.
So what about somebody who needs a prescription?
Screw them. Sorry.
No, I'm serious. You could put like a 3x magnifier lens in a pair of shooting glasses.
Yeah, in fact, I just saw an article about contacts with the same thing. Yeah, so I guess do we have to do those now too? Do we have to
check people's eyesight?
Jesus.
I don't know. But that's just kind of we were talking about that on all my drives to matches. On long drives, you talk about a lot of weird stuff. Came up one day.
Yeah, so if you've ever played the game Would You Rather, that's basically talking to Aaron about 3-gun all the time. Like, hey, here's this obscure thing you've never thought of. Do you think this is okay? Like, God, no. Why would you do that? Well, it doesn't say it's not okay. Yep. This is every time I walked into Hayes Custom Guns, there was always one of those questions. And that was the best part. It's like not knowing what the question is going to be for the day.
Yeah.
So on that note, though, that's a very interesting topic, especially as far as, as where we currently are with technology in, I guess, in the outside space that's not 3-gun. That probably is something we'll have to contend with soon. And I would say, no, that's not okay.
Okay. That's what I would say too.
Prescriptions obviously would be fine.
It's not going to stop somebody from trying it.
Sure. Well, right now I could go get glasses that would make me better than 20/20, right?
Yeah.
In theory. Yeah. So, yeah, I would say no on that one. Okay, so secondary sights, no secondary sights for limited. Irons are okay in TAC, and then unlimited, obviously, in open.
Yep, I'm good with that.
Okay. All right, so Compensator. This is an interesting one you brought up here, and it kind of made me think maybe I have this one wrong. So for limited, I have yes, and I just have the current
1x3.
Yeah, 1x3 dimensions that we have. I have that for limited. I have that for TAC, and then of course unlimited and open, so you can do whatever you want, tank brake, whatever. But what you said earlier about why do we have brakes on everything? It's like maybe limited needs a bird cage or something.
Right. A2 flash hider.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I said, it kind of goes back to the commonly accepted most used platform, right? Or this is what most people have, so this is what we want that division to mimic. I feel like that is appropriate for that because every rifle, unless you live in California, has a threaded muzzle. So
for sure. So some sort of muzzle device, obviously. But that said, do you have a home defense gun? That's an AR.
It is.
Does it have a brake on it?
It's got a flash hider because I don't want to go blind in the middle of a gun. In the middle of the night, and I
don't want to blow my ears out against the wall, right? So, So same here, right? So that's what I'm getting at is like maybe not TAC, maybe limited has flash hiders instead of brakes.
Mm-hmm. I also have iron sights on my nightstand rifle. So,
oh yeah, I've got a Huey. Oh, you have iron sights?
Irons, yep.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, because you're just gonna shoot from the hip. I know you.
Yeah. No, it's just one less thing to have to depend on.
I like it.
I would put a Priz on there, like a Spitfire, like a Vortex Spitfire with the etched reticle.
Yeah.
So it doesn't even. I don't even put batteries in those for 3-gun.
Yeah, I don't think mine's ever had a battery in it.
We put a lot of dots on handguns, and man, they're just dots in general are just not as reliable as irons. I mean, if you absolutely have to have it there, you better put an iron sight on it.
Interesting. All right, but how about flash hider in limited then?
I don't know that it makes enough difference to even worry about that. That's going to make it harder for people to go back and forth between divisions because they have to change their muzzle device every time. Not that that's that hard to do, but that's kind of the thing you forget to do when you show up at the match with an illegal device and have to go scramble to change it. So I don't know if that's worth changing.
Yeah, That's the worst thing is the scramble to change something. All right, so bipod and bags, obviously no in limited. Tac ops I have no, and then obviously yes, they're we use whatever you want in open.
Yep.
All right, so
I was just looking at the Texas three gun rules. So for limited rifle, not more than one non-magnified electronic or optical sight is permitted. Electronic or optical sights originally designed to be capable of any magnification, whether used or not, are prohibited. So no, we do not allow magnifiers.
Well, I guess so. Let me just say then that for primary sights, I have one non-magnified in limited, and if you add a 3x magnifier, not only is it magnified, but it's also 2.
Yeah, I would be good with that. Yeah, okay. If it's got glass and goes on top, it's a sighting device.
Right.
So yeah, I feel maybe that could be, if we were to actually write that rule, that's how I would clarify it. Is.
Yeah, and again, I'm not really writing any rules. I'm just sort of like throwing this out there.
Generalization. Yeah. No, I
get
it.
Okay. Well, so anything that you think we didn't cover on the rifle that you think could use an update?
I don't think so. I mean, AR technology is incremental.
Yeah.
And there haven't been any like major advancements that I think warrant changing any of that stuff. This kind of the tried and true descriptions that we just went over, I feel like work pretty well for the gun itself.
Now, in a conversation I had with Jeremy Gresham, he was saying like TAC should have full mass carrier and no gas block or something like that, or maybe it was limited. I don't remember. But that said,
I don't disagree with him. But you just how are you going to check that? I don't want to check 300 rifles.
So I agree on you on not checking. On my truck gun and my bedside gun and stuff like that, they all have full mass carriers. But that said, like I don't think the 4 ounces you're saving on your carrier is going to ruin your game. So.
No, plenty of people. I mean, plenty of top shooters shoot full mass everything. So
yeah,
learn to shoot is really. Unfortunately, I know that's the answer nobody wants to hear, myself included. But if you just learn to shoot, you'd win everything.
Yeah. Well, we'll get to that when we talk about pistols here, because right. I have I'm with you, bud. Okay. So all right. So we've wrapped up rifle. Let's move on to pistol here. So configuration, I basically just. Semi-automatic, minimum 9x19 millimeter. Same for limited, TAC, and open. I don't think that needs anything. So now capacity, I have the 141.25 millimeter length mags that we have now for limited. Same thing for TAC, and then unlimited in open.
Yeah, I don't think that needs to be messed with.
Yeah, I don't think it does either. Pardon me. So we toyed around with limited to plastic guns, or limit them to like what the typical 17 round Glock magazine is, or 18 rounds in a Smith & Wesson or whatever it is. We toyed around with that, but then now I don't know, it makes it harder to go shoot another division like in USPSA and then use the same equipment. And then it gets rid of the 2011 in limited, and didn't necessarily want to do that because I'm seeing a lot more 2011 style pistols in military, in law enforcement, in the tactical Timmy world and stuff like that. Like they're getting to be everywhere now.
Much more common, yeah.
More common.
I think it's, whether in a theoretical ideal world, it's the ideal choice for limited or not. We have to factor in what people want to use and what's already being used. I mean, that would be a kind of a step backwards in terms of what's allowed, which is not necessarily the end of the world. I mean, college baseball, actually, I don't know if you follow college baseball at all, but the metal bat technology in the 90s was like insane, and people were getting injured, right? So they greatly modified and restricted technology and the design of metal bats to slow the ball down. So that's one example of a sport taking a big step backwards in terms of capability of equipment. Now, granted, it was for safety reasons, and why they didn't just make them switch to wood bats, I don't know. But that's pretty rare when any kind of sport it takes a major step backwards in technological advancement.
Yeah.
In terms of what's allowed. And I feel like that if you take 2011s out of limited, that's what we'd be doing. And that just didn't seem like a good idea.
Yeah. And then on that note, like me with the absolute tricked out Hayes Custom Guns 2011 in limited division versus Jerry with his Smith & Wesson M&P in limited division, he's still going to smoke me.
Right. No, exactly.
So I don't think it's that big of a deal. Although I do enjoy the 2011 and prefer to shoot it, I don't think it's that huge of a difference. Until we get to the next one, Aaron, that's what moment we've all been waiting for. Sights. Limited division, iron sights. Iron sights only.
Limited, yes, 100%.
Yep. Tactical division, optical/electronic, okay, slide mounted between rear slide injection port. That is just, I copy pasted that from USPSA carry optics rules. So the difference there being that I'm suggesting that 2011s with red dots are okay. And then we'll get to the next part. Oh, so I'm sorry. Open is obviously unlimited on that one. And then you can have 3 dots if you want. And then comps and porting, I say no in limited, no in TAC, and then unlimited and open. So slide ride dot available in TAC ops with no porting on your 2011.
I mean, I like I said earlier, I'm not going to make that change for next year. But
No.
We're not.
We're not talking about that. We're talking about like theoretically, like if we're sitting in a, like assume this is like a long-term planning session.
Yeah. And yeah, no, I would say red dots. And that's just like I said earlier because of the popularity. It's not because I have any, we have to all have red dots. I mean, I know some people have some really passionate, arguments, and I fully respect that. I'm just happen to not be one of those people. I just feel like when it seems to me like it works and enough people are ready for it, then it'll happen. Like I said, anybody with any kind of a medium to long-term vision of the sport, has to see that writing on the wall. And there'll be some holdouts. That's fine. That's what makes Outlaw 3-gun interesting. But generally, I think, 5 years from now, TAC Ops red dots will be at the forefront of the conversation, if not already implemented.
It's got to be that way, right?
Just because that's where practical firearms, that you would commonly use in battle or self-defense. Not that we're doing any of those things in 3-gun, but that's for some reason the subset of weapons that were chosen, for that the most people shoot in that division, TAC Ops, right? So that's just kind of we just kind of have to reflect the current state of that segment of gun ownership, and I feel like that's in 5 years that's where it'll be.
Yeah, and
it's not already on the pistol side.
Dude, I didn't want to do it. I honestly wanted to stick with it, but then, or maybe I did. I don't remember. It's been a while. It's been a couple. I've slept a couple times, but when Forrest and I were coming back from JKM, Jeff Kirkwell Memorial, we're like, okay, well, what pistol do you have with you? Does it have a red dot? What pistol do I have? Does it have a red dot? Yes, it does. Obviously, it's a road trip. We're not flying, but
right.
Like both of our defense pistols have red dots, and like that's what we carry every day. And why? Because it is a tactical advantage, right? So
I mean, that's the theory. Yeah, I will be 100% honest. I don't have enough rounds on a gun with a dot to be able to personally speak to it. I am not a blow the doors off of everyone else pistol speed shooter. So
yeah, we've seen.
Will that ever be a huge determining factor in where I finish? Probably not. I'm just going to do what I can to stay with the pack with pistol, which is what I do now, and try to make it up on rifle and shotgun.
Yeah, I'll be honest.
So I may not be the best person to talk about, is that truly an advantage and how much, right? That would be somebody who shot multiple divisions at the highest level.
Well, I'll just say that from my experience putting a red dot on a defensive gun. So I've got an IWI Masada. When Jeremy sent me that thing, I shot it for a little while, and then I put the red dot on it, and immediately when I put the dot on it, after I only think I shot like 50 rounds irons because I know what irons are like, but when I put that red dot on there, it was seriously a holy shit, this is cheating moment. Yeah. It was so much better than it is with irons. Now, for some reason, I can't. It's much different with a frame-mounted dot for me, and I've tried to shoot a stage with one, and it's like, where the hell is the dot at? But
you really have to. There's much more of a learning curve with that style of gun, mainly because they recoil more.
Yeah, and because I'm always
hotter ammo to work the comps, so you've got to know where that dot's going. But once you learn it, that's the fastest way
by
far.
Absolutely. Well, and because I'm always borrowing one, it's not like I own one, but yes, 100%. Like that's the way it's going. So honestly, I think that is going to be the future, you know?
Yeah. And there will be people who, it'll be as heated then as it is now. And as long as the people who, right. So say the people who don't want the red dots are, more traditionalist, right? Well, so when that time comes, I feel like it would benefit the community to give a place for those people to go shoot their iron-sighted guns without
limited.
forcing them to use a 1X optic on their rifle. Right?
Well, okay, so then you're talking about half divisions, right? So now we have
I don't know. Yeah.
Limtac, and it has iron sights, but it has a 170 millimeter mag, and then we have the shotgun tube, and it's 12 rounds, but you get a red dot, or you don't get a red dot, but you have 14 rounds.
Yeah, Superstition has done that, with their stealth. They've got some divisions where you pick and choose.
Yeah, and so that sounds fun.
You get this number of features, choose which ones you want. The problem from a match administrator's perspective is it's so hard to police, right? Like we all want the community to self-police itself, and it does for the most part, but as we all know, it doesn't always.
Yeah.
And the fallout from
not only is it hard to police, Aaron, but it's also waters down the rest of the divisions. Like when so I don't need you to agree or disagree or have an opinion on this at all, but I personally every time I go to a UML match and they have 3-gun tac, 3-gun limited, 3-gun open, 2-gun, 4-gun, lady tac, it's like holy shit, there's not even enough people here to fit 5 people in a division. This is not fun.
Yeah.
And so maybe Superstition has a large enough following and a large enough match to then dilute one of their major divisions.
Yeah.
And that works for them. But if you're putting on a match where you're getting 110 people and you want to get 120, I don't think finding those 10 people by getting another division is good, because you're going to get people jumping from other divisions and screwing everything up. And you're going to find that you're not really drawing in new people. You're just diluting the other divisions. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree with that 100%. So, but when you go to put red dots on pistols and tac, there are going to be a significant number of people who still want to shoot irons.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know whether, since that's the biggest division, we split it, along those lines. So you can have dots on your shotgun and pistol, and we'll call it tac ops, and we call it traditional. So I don't know, where you want to shoot irons on a shotgun and irons on a pistol, that becomes another division.
Again, I don't think 3-gun's big enough to do that.
What other option is there?
Get with the times, old man. Well,
yeah. What about a limited shooter, a USPSA limited shooter? Right. So we're going back to the getting people from other sports.
Yeah. So then we have this wonderful division called limited over here.
Yeah. But what if he sucks with the rifle?
That you should get better.
Well, that's what I say about loading a shotgun.
Yeah. So that's a really good point. So let me tell you my thing with red dots now, right? So one of the arguments for putting red dots in tac, and I'm totally against this particular argument, is that, well, when we get a new guy and he comes with his pump shotgun and he has his AR with his strike fire on it or whatever, his 1X strike fire, and then he's got a SIG P320 with a Razor red dot on there. He spent all his money on that pistol.
Mm-hmm.
What division do we put him in? I was like, well, clearly you put him in open because we read the rules and it goes in open. Mm-hmm. They're like, well, he's new. I'm like, and he's going to get crushed. I don't give a shit, because everybody gets crushed when they're new.
Right.
I got crushed when I was new. Eric got crushed when he was new. We all suck when we start.
Yeah, no, I think that's a bit of a straw man, because anybody who comes to their first match with any expectation of anything other than getting crushed is not smart enough to handle firearms safely. Like, that's just not.
Yeah. Well,
I've never met someone at their first match who was mad because they didn't win. Well, I mean, that's not true. I have.
Well, I've met a lot, and they don't come back, which blows my mind. It's like, dude, if you could see the way you're moving right now with your gun, like how slow you are, you would have no expectation of winning. And I'm proud of you, because you are moving slow and you're being safe. Like we told you to, you're not running and being unsafe. That's the opposite of what we want. However, You shouldn't expect to win your first,
Right.
you know,
And
like they said,
anybody who you have to explain that to is already firmly in one side or the other. Like we're near Fort Hood, right? So a lot of our locals, we get first timers from Fort Hood, and they come down and just get their doors blown off and get mad and never come back. That's going to happen no matter whether they showed up with a hand autographed personal pistol of Jerry's or their Glock 19, right? Like those people are still going to get their doors blown off, and they're still going to be mad about it, even if they had all the perfect guns for their first match.
Do you guys do like a new shooter brief?
Yeah, no, at our matches at TSA, we, every time when we're doing the main safety brief, we ask if there's any new shooters, and if there are, we take them aside and go over the 180 and basic, cold range and all the super basic safety stuff.
Do you manage expectations?
And really, the only thing we tell them is, look, no, this is what I tell them anyway. I don't know what other people do, but when I hold that meeting, I say, this is your first match. You're not going to win. So don't even try to go fast. Just try to hit all the targets and not shoot yourself or anybody else. Like going fast should not even be on your radar. And I know it feels like everybody's watching you and there's tons of pressure, but even the people here who are going to do really well, they're so worried about their own stage. Nobody is watching you, judging you on your performance other than, are you going to shoot somebody or not? That's all they care about.
It's like my buddy Wade says, unless you're a hot chick or on fire, nobody cares about you.
Exactly. So yeah, I feel like that. Oh, new shooters are going to get mad if they can't. They're going to get mad anyway. If somebody gets mad getting beaten their first match, they need to go find something else to do.
Yeah, this isn't the game for you. Aaron, I recently found out something which I considered appalling about you, and that's you're a golfer, right?
Oh, well, I'm a hacker.
Exactly, you're a hacker. However, I am not a hacker. The last time I swung a club for score was probably like 25 years ago, maybe. So if I go out with you and we're going to go hack some balls around, we're going to drink some beers on a Saturday, and I have an expectation of beating you, that's unrealistic, right?
I mean, I feel like it is. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not familiar with the game. I don't know the course. I don't know I don't know where I'm supposed to stand when you're swinging, that kind of thing. So it's just completely, there's no other sport other than shooting where your ego is so huge coming in,
right?
And we see it again and again. And if it sounds like I'm ragging on people too much, for those listening home, like, I'm sorry, but I did the exact same thing. I was convinced that I was going to win. I'll tell you what I did. So, Aaron, you're familiar with the Glock 17, right? So I started shooting with a Gen 2 Glock 17. I had one magazine that had the Glock +2 base pad on it, right? Because I thought that was the height of technology at the time. So I had 19 rounds in there, right? So I sat in front of a 20 pepper popper array, and someone told me I could chicken load. So I asked what chicken loading was. I found out what chicken loading was, and I did that, expecting to go 1 for 1 on all those and end with a completely empty gun.
Oh, the best laid plans.
In my first match.
Yeah.
My very first match.
Yeah, I think as Mike Tyson said, everyone has a plan until they get hit in the mouth.
Yeah, for sure.
That was when you got hit in the mouth, I'm guessing.
Yeah, dude, I got punched in the mouth hard, but like that's just the unrealistic expectations we put on ourselves. Like you need to realize like we're all a beginner at some point, and yeah, it sucks to go to your first 3-gun match as 41 as I am right now, or 43 as Aaron is, and suck. But hey, man, if I started dirt biking right now, just saw Dwayne's name on my screen. If I started dirt biking right now or golfing right now, I would suck at that. If I started knitting right now or cross stitching right now, I would suck at that. But with effort and practice and dedication, you can always get better at everything.
Yeah, and I think that particularly with the military and police, and I don't mean to pick on those guys, but just like I said, since Fort Hood is near here, that's who we see. These guys are good shooters, in their peer group. But in my opinion, even your bottom third weekend warrior USPSA shooter is a better gun handler than 99.9% of all military and police, right? Like they're stepping out of a peer group into a pool where even the bad shooters are great shooters.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? You could have no tickets, no accidents, taking safety driving courses and all this stuff. And if we put you in an F1 car, you're going to die on the first lap.
Well, yeah, and not only that,
preparing you for the game, and that's what people don't realize. So,
if you think about, and you can't blame them, right? So unless you're like a firearms enthusiast and you're choosing to do this on the weekend, if you think about it, like you have one qualification per year as a police officer, maximum 2 per year is the most I've ever heard. And a qualification is what, 50 rounds, 100 rounds? And your best day at work, you leave your gun in your holster.
Right.
The worst day, you have to draw your gun and use it to defend yourself. So I totally get it. Like there's totally competing interests there. Like it'd probably be more beneficial for you to have psychology classes than shooting classes as a law enforcement officer, right? So it would teach you how to deal with conflict de-escalation and things like that. So you didn't need to draw your pistol. I don't know, but
so the question is, how do we, as the 3-gun community, overcome that to get more people? Right. So I think people are misinterpreting those people getting mad and getting beaten, not coming back because they didn't have the right gear. So how do we change that?
Really? Well,
yeah, because that's what everyone says is, the first guy, he doesn't want to come shoot his red dot carry gun and open and get his doors blown off. Well, he's gonna get beaten every division. So how do we get that point across to the people who are allegedly not coming back because of equipment restrictions, which I don't think is just real anyway, but let's say it is.
So I think the bigger thing, so we'll talk about that a second here, just real fast. I think the bigger thing is I see people not wanting to show because of equipment restrictions. And like you said, a lot of that's an excuse. And I think it's one of those things where, and I've said this for years, like in making plans with friends and stuff like that, everyone wants to go until it's time to leave. Mm-hmm. And then you're like, oh shit, I didn't ask my wife, or, I didn't make plans for this. Like,
it's laundry day.
Yeah, exactly. So just getting someone to like leave their effing house on a Saturday to go spend 6 hours on a range is a difficult thing. So as far as the people coming back, how about a debrief? Like you have a talk before the match. Maybe there needs to be a debrief. And we're talking club matches here, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Like you just described, those people are never going to be there anyway. So I think we should just quit listening to the alleged reasons why they're not coming.
Yeah. So how about
because they talk about, what do they talk about? The cost of getting a new customer versus the cost of keeping an existing customer. Like I feel like we're kind of in that situation where my focus is keeping the people who want to shoot my match having fun and coming back, right? Like I can only run 260 shooters through the match.
Right. Well, so on that note,
it doesn't do me any good if 1,000 people want to come shoot the match.
On that note, let's talk club matches here. And you just mentioned the guys from Fort Hoods, and I'm sorry I switched subjects in the middle of it. So how about a debrief after your club match to keep the people coming back? Or like if you have a new guy, is there some way to note that? And so your range is a private range, right? You own it.
Kind of circle back afterwards, you mean?
So as a volunteer, this doesn't make any sense, right? Because you get paid the same no matter how many guys come to your match or don't, or maybe you get better funding if more people from the club as a whole, if people come to your match, so you're incentivized that way. But like free market wise in Texas, there's a lot of private ranges that do club matches. Yours is one of them, right? TSA, Texas Shooting Academy. So if you're incentivized to bring those people back, because having them spend $15 a week over a 5-year period might be good, or maybe they take lessons or whatever it is. Maybe a phone call after the match. Hey, Steve, this is Aaron, or I picked another owner's name. My bad. Jim. Jim, this is Aaron from TSA. Hey man, thanks for coming out to the match. Hope it was good. Hope to see you again.
Yeah. No, that's a great idea, actually.
Shit, even an email might work on that. You guys do it.
Yeah, an email would probably be more, in terms of a format where they can ask questions and get answers or relay concerns. That I'd much rather have it in writing. That way I can refer to other people if needed.
Yeah, you could even do a
like a Survey Monkey kind of deal.
Or you could just do PS if you have any questions for me or anything, just reply to this email.
I mean, we say that generally, in the registration emails and stuff, but yeah, a follow-up afterwards is a good idea for sure.
Yeah, and that's one thing I like about the way you guys handle the Texas 3-Gun Championship is when you open registration, you email the people that have shot it before and say, registration's open. Sounds like a simple thing, but just letting people know that now is the time for you to hit that yes, I want to come button is important, you know?
Yeah, and probably this is another issue that obviously is another discussion because it would be a long one, but the reliance on Facebook of the shooting communities to disseminate information is problematic because A, Facebook
Hugely.
hates us, and B, not everyone's on it.
Yep.
And there's no centralized I'm working on something that might help solve this problem, but as it stands today, there is no centralized place where you can go see every event and, you know, all the rules and all that stuff. And I think that hurts us. Of course, the alternative is somebody doing it all themselves and becoming more of a unified thing, which people are against. So I don't know what the solution is, but I definitely know that could be done better because Facebook is just not a viable even medium term option, I don't think.
100%. I've been saying this for years, and I feel like
you have to go to Facebook and say it for anyone to hear you.
I know. I feel like you and I are the only ones that are paying attention to this shit because it's garbage. It's absolute garbage, and it's good and bad, right?
Until there's another alternative. That's why Zuckerberg's a billionaire, right? It's a great product. I mean, Facebook is awesome for that kind of thing. If they just didn't hate us so much, so
yeah. Well, and on that note, like the groups thing, so that gets a lot of notice from people that wouldn't know about Brian Enos or wouldn't know about Practice Score or something like that. They can just passively be scrolling through their phone and say, get a suggestion of like, hey, you should go to 3-Gun Talk. Yeah. So that's the only benefit I see to 3-Gun. Otherwise, to 3-Gun, to Facebook. Otherwise, like everything sucks about it.
Well, the problem is Enos, everyone moved to Facebook. And then Practice Score, there's just so many events.
Yeah.
If you were to just, it's and so many people call their clubs and their matches different things.
I couldn't even find Benning.
Omaha. You can't just go to Practice Score and type in 3-Gun Omaha and expect to get any relevant results. Like there's just too many, and there's no naming conventions. There's no. It's just there's so much of it and so little ability of filtering it that, it's difficult to use for the uninitiated.
Yeah, yeah, and for example, for the scores for the last 3-Gun League, I was looking up Fort Benning. Look up FORT Benning Multi-Gun Challenge. Can't find it. Fort Benning Multi-Gun. Can't find it. Fort Benning. Fort Benning. Can't find it. FT Benning. There it is.
Yep. Now we had troubles with that with Texas 3-Gun back in the beginning when it was the extreme bullets.
Oh yeah.
3-Gun because the way they spelled extreme.
Yeah.
Some people hyphenate it. Some people don't. One year we didn't spell it right in the it's just. Yeah, it just causes chaos. So with no naming conventions and centralized, management, I guess, for lack of a better word, of all the events and stuff and publishing it all, it's hard to. And even in 3-Gun Talk, right? It's like so much activity in that group that even match announcements get kind of watered down because there's no good way to like pin stuff like you can on a forum.
Yeah.
So I mean, the old internet forum, like a Brian Eno style forum, is a great way to do it if people use it. But at this point. There's so many people on Facebook that haven't ever even heard of that getting them to go there to use it would be difficult.
Well, I had a very, very brief experience with Brian Enos when I started the show, and it didn't seem like that friendly of a place. And it may have just been the small piece of experience I have. However, now Facebook is getting to be that way. Whereas someone's like, hey, I have questions about shotgun. And then the 30 comments from smartasses of, what's my shotgun? It's like, Jesus Christ, dude. Like, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all.
Yeah, we were all new once, and unfortunately, some people seem to forget that. So
yeah. Well, Aaron, I think we're getting off into a different topic. Maybe we should.
I do have one. I do want to circle back to one thing.
Sure. Just let me put a pin in that one real quick. So I think we can make some bigger changes in the community, and maybe we come back to that one. But on equipment. So you have another comment on equipment here.
Yes. How do you feel about true irons in limited? And what made me think about it was when we were talking about
on the rifle.
Tactical, yeah, like pull the 1X dot off and make them use true irons.
Ooh, so I'm, man. Okay, so it's
a tough one, right? Because here's where I come out on it. My first negative would be you're punishing people with bad eyesight.
Yes.
But there's really nobody with bad eyesight in limited to begin with. Like anybody who is struggling with their eyesight has probably already transitioned to TAC ops.
Yes. Now the Spitfire will hold you off a little bit longer because you can adjust it to your shitty eyes.
Right.
But yeah, if you're using like a true
you still
red,
got to be able to see the target.
Yep. 100%.
It certainly makes it more. It would allow, and one of the advantages to doing that would be it would allow more options in TAC ops, right? So let's say you want to run a red dot on your pistol. Well, now you have to run a 1X on your rifle instead of a 1-6. That would open the door to kind of interchangeable features.
Man.
So just think about it. It's I'm not really sure where I stand on it, but I love the idea of shooting true iron, having a division where you have to shoot true irons on your rifle, because that is a badass thing. And like Joe Easter, whether he wins or not, just the fact that he's out there with iron sights makes me feel like a chump.
Yeah.
So you'll probably see iron sights on Aaron's rifle next year.
Oh, listen to this. All right. Well,
just because I'm not gonna let him be the only one, Joe. I'm coming for you.
So I would love to see you shooting irons. However, subjecting other people to shooting irons, man, that's a tough one. And
it's a throwback, man. Like it's a different skill set entirely.
So on that note of throwback, what I was about to say is like maybe there's room for like a style of match. For example, like the Vortex Shootout was, very heavily influenced by Vortex Shooter Source, by Blue Ridge, by Rocky Mountain. So maybe next year it's influenced by retro whatever, so instead of bringing out your super racy AR, maybe it's you bring your bedside gun or whatever it is. And so
here's the biggest obstacle to that is the sights that allow you to hit targets at 600 yards are expensive and hard to find.
Yeah.
So me and Joe would show up with our 600-yard iron sights. He made his sights.
Yeah.
And then here's a bunch of guys shooting giant aperture, thick post rifle sights, very close together, and they're going to get domed just like they do now. So, right? Like there's definitely a right way to do rifle sights for shooting at 600 yards, and it's not easy to find or put together. Like it requires work.
Yeah.
Joe can speak more to that because he's done it. Like I said, I know he made, if not his whole front sight, certain parts of it, because we were discussing it a little bit before World Shoot, the rifle World Shoot when he went and shot. So there's a skill to that too. It's that's its whole own equipment race, and I have a feeling if you did a division like that, it would wind up being Joe and me.
That's what I was thinking. Like, so on my first knee-jerk reaction is no, but I'm trying to go into this with an open mind, and that was the reason for our conversation.
Yeah. I'm not advocating it. I'm just it's just something I've been thinking about, and if there was a way to do it without impacting negatively other divisions, I think it would be cool, because that is an art that's being lost.
Sure. And what I'm saying is like, I'm trying to have an open mind. So my first reaction is no, but I'm trying to think of a reason not to. And, I think the reason, and if I had so I hate when people say we can't do that. I hate when people say no. I always want a reason. So what I'm trying to think of is the reason that I'm knee jerking to no. And I think what it is I do believe that would drastically reduce participation in that division, because exactly what you said, it would just be you and Joe. So maybe there's room for, gosh,
how about this? I get iron sights, but I get a drum.
That's just silly. I would take 10 round magazines in a 1-10.
Yeah. So I mean, in limited.
Oh, I know. I just went to the opposite end of the spectrum.
Oh, I gotcha.
Yeah. Opposite end of the spectrum from a D60 is 10 rounds, and then the opposite end of iron sights is 1-10.
Yeah.
So, but Denise and JJ have that 2-gun match that they've done, which is a carbine and a precision rifle. Maybe that one has iron sights only, or maybe just like the time has come and gone for iron sights.
I mean, that's yeah. Nobody sells wagon wheels anymore or buggy whips.
Yeah.
Sights
yeah. You type in buggy whip into Amazon, it's something completely different, bro.
Yeah. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah. I mean, that's.
Well, we've solved every problem today, Dave.
Yeah, I think we did.
Any complaints or questions? And
I don't think I don't think we need to even open this up to other people input because we solved everything. But okay, so but just in all seriousness, we do want your feedback. 3gunshow.com/312. Put the comments in there because, like we said, Facebook sucks and Facebook goes away. This will be there forever. For example, Aaron, I'm gonna read just a few comments here and then we'll wrap up. Yeah. A few comments from the last show I did where I suggested these, and these are from August 25th. Had they been posted on Facebook, they'd be lost forever. So thank you for people for going to the blog and posting those here. So N. Johnson says, I like the idea you have. I agree with keeping up with the times, such as red dot sights on TAC Ops pistols, and that would also give someone the option to shoot open down the road without having to buy another pistol. And let's be honest, anyone who buys a milled pistol can't use the dot on it feels cheated. That's a good point.
Yeah.
And then Don Walker says, I think the D60 in TAC Ops is in line with your argument of being the current tech, like the red dot on the pistol. Otherwise, I pretty much agree. Yeah, I mean, that's a tough one, dude.
I think you could put that, like we talked, you could put that in either camp, you know?
Yeah. So I mean, Don's right.
Does anybody use beta mags anymore? You remember those?
Yeah, dude. That was one of the things I was talking about in the original show. I was like, yeah, an open, if you want to use a beta mag, if you're bold, go for it. But
yeah. Now Jerry used to use one.
Yeah, I'm sure he had a lot of time into that one, right?
His one, yeah, it worked, but it's a lot of ammo.
Yeah, 100 rounds, geez. Yeah. Jason Hubbard says, I have a dot on my carry pistol, as do many others. I think it would be another avenue to bring more people into the sport by not having them have to jump into open just because they have a dot on their G17 P320. Also, granted, my Hayes 2011 is no carry gun, but I would like more reps with a dot on it too, as this is the gun I shoot the most. There you go. Yeah, so I don't have anything against putting people in the proper division. Like this division, that's where you go. Boys pee over here, girls pee over there. Like right. That, I don't get the argument, but Jason's right on everything else. Let's see. Steve says, man, some great comments here. I personally would be like to be able to shoot my carry optics pistol from USPSA in TAC Ops instead of switching to an iron sight gun for a 3-gun. Also, I think you're onto something with a governing body. It's nice to have a measure of what to chase in a division. I like the USPSA model for moving up in rank. I'm a novice at 2-3 gun, but would like the ability to practice and scale it up, give some positive feedback like a classifier stage. Thanks, man. Awesome show. Thank you, Steve. Yeah. I agree with all that.
Yeah. So here's where it's going to wind up is the top 10 to 20 shooters in TAC Ops are all going to do the same thing. And the same guys are still going to win.
Yep.
And what it does is it opens the door for everybody else to do what they want, right? And will it matter? You know, will you maybe get 30th instead of 37th because you had a TAC Ops, a dot on your pistol? Maybe, but like that's so hard to quantify that it's not worth. So in terms of results, really the top is the only thing that matters, and all those guys are going to go to the same thing just like they do now, and the results are going to be the same. So if the net result is it lets more people shoot, like you said, that guy that wants to shoot his carry optics gun, like I'm 100% for that.
And you're absolutely right. For me, the only reason to switch to a dot would be that first year where not everyone else has a dot, and I would do so much better. But then once everyone else gets a dot, I would go exactly right back where I should be. It's not
early adopters, particularly the ones who've shot open in the past, are going to dominate that first season.
Yeah.
And then it'll all normalize, and we'll be right back. Then we'll find something else to argue about.
Yeah, for sure.
Where the ray gun attachment goes or something.
Yeah. I actually shot with a guy at Gen 3 that is a military guy, had a SIG P320 Legion, I believe, and he had to buy 2 because he has one for duty that has a red dot on it, and he couldn't shoot the other one, or he couldn't shoot it in TAC Ops.
Yeah.
But his rifle is more TAC Opsy, or his duty rifle is more TAC Opsy than it was open-y. And then he didn't, I don't know what his deal was with the shotgun. He had a Benelli, I remember that, but we didn't talk about the shotgun. But anyway, so
Cool.
There you go. Talk about saving money. Dude had to buy another $1,700 pistol so he could come and play.
Not ideal. You can buy a lot of guns, a lot of ammo.
Buy a lot of red dots for that too. So
yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, Aaron, I think we beat this horse to death, man.
Oh yeah.
Good way
to down for a good beating though. So dead horses are the easiest ones too. So
yeah, and this is probably one of the shorter conversations we've had, but yeah. So last show for 2021. Thanks for being on the show. I think
man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, dude. It's always great to have you on the show. I really appreciate your perspective on things from not only a match director but a supplier of firearms to the sport through Hayes Custom Guns, a range owner through Texas Shooting Academy, and then of course just being an enthusiast and a shooter. So you have a unique perspective. So thanks for sharing it with us.
Well, I appreciate that. And I thank you for having me, and thank you for the community that's allowed me to wear all these different hats. So I thoroughly enjoy everything about Three Gun, even the drama and the conflict. So that all leads to growth on the other side. Whether it's the cheating in the past few years or the equipment arguments or any of this stuff is all at the end of it. I think it always improves.
Yeah.
On the back end, which is the ultimate goal. So
yeah, and I do have to say that like I don't like arguing, despite how much I do argue, or maybe I do. I don't know, but I don't like arguing particularly. But an argument is what brought this to my attention and made me really consider it. So you're absolutely right that we do end up in strange places based on where we start. So.
And I hate to bring this up because I just remembered we didn't talk about it.
Uh-oh.
The slung rifle.
Oh yeah.
Issue. Should we save that for another time, or do we have time to?
Let's save that one for another time.
Okay, cool.
Because I feel like,
and then we'll discuss the comments and talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. There you go. Yeah, comment, and Aaron just threw out the perfect teaser: slung rifles. We're going to talk about those in the in the next.
What happens when you drop them?
What happens when you drop your slung rifle on the next Three Gun Show? Well, thanks everyone for a great 2021. It's great to be back doing the Three Gun Show regularly. Like I said, this is the last episode of the year. So I'm going to take a couple of weeks off from posting shows, but I'm going to be recording shows. So if you get a call from me to be on the show, that means now. Anyway, we'll see you in 2022. You guys have a great year. Merry Christmas to you. Happy New Year and all that stuff. Aaron, we'll be talking to you soon, buddy.
Happy New Year.
Thank you, everybody. We'll see you on the range.